there's not a single product we've released that we're not happy with. We might make mistakes. Sometimes something happens with the fabric, etc. But we have this thing that if we're not happy, if we're not going to use it ourselves, it should not go out.
How can a country like India not have its own interpretation of a tropical design language? This is one of the questions that compelled our guest of today to start his own brand. And the brand, I must say, is one which has got an Indian aesthetic and a clear global outlook. Welcome to DLF Mall's talk show, Beyond the Brand. And the brand that we are talking today about is Nicobar. Raul Rai, the co-founder, is going to join us now to talk about his journey of Nicobar and how he drew inspirations from across the oceans. Welcome, Raul. Welcome to the show. So, Raul, we have been talking and we know each other for quite a while, but welcome to Beyond the Brand. We wanted to invite you here today for two reasons. One is that Nicobar as a brand has really taken great leaps in terms of design aesthetics as well as its vision. So I truly wanted to understand from you, how did it all start? And how did the entire journey of Nicobar start for you?
Pushpa, first, thank you for inviting me. So in terms of Nicobar, how it started, I don't know I really don't know what I'm doing here, because at one level, I'm a private equity investment banker who at age 45 decided to create a lifestyle brand that our team probably has 70% women, and I came from an environment of 99% men. So, but really what drove me to start was the fact that I lived in India for about 18 years, and I kind of wanted to be an American, because I just thought America had it all growing up in the 70s, 80s. And so at age 18, I go off to study in America.
Right.
And then for 18 years, I'm in New York, Boston, London. And when I came back at age 36, I also probably was at a stage where I had seen a lot of the West.
Right.
And there's such incredible things over there. But I also saw India with a different eye. And I saw there's so much over here that we probably don't fully appreciate.
Right.
For example, we have the longest coastline.
Yes.
You go to Thailand, you go to Vietnam, you go to Sri Lanka, they all have a unique design language. It's Jeffrey Bawa in Sri Lanka, for example.
Yeah.
And it just got my mind on this, that why can't we create something from India that rests in India and yet is global in its outlook? And I always believe a brand is an outgrowth of the founding team's personality.
True.
So given that I had spent half my life in India and half outside, I did want to create something at the intersection of the East and the West. And so that's where the conversation started. And I remember we were in Goa and we said, okay, let's give this a go.
The design language of Nicobar has always interested me because it seems to be inspired by some tropical elements very distinctively, and also a lot of the ocean elements along with it. So, how did that come about? Because it's very distinctive.
I think I'm going to disappoint both you and your viewers, because I have nothing to do with the design language at Nicobar. In fact, the secret of Nicobar is I'm allowed to do everything except design.
Okay.
And but that is the realm of Simran, my wife.
Of course.
She started out as the creative director. Now it's Aparna and Rajiv who are the creative directors. And honestly, I admire Simran and the design team for what they've done, because I really, there was a lot of pressure on us.
Right.
In the sense that this is coming from the house of Good Earth.
Yes.
So there was this impression that this would just be a cheaper Good Earth. What Simran achieved was a very distinct design language. So Good Earth, I think, is very heritage India. Nicobar has become very contemporary India. And she's now creating a third brand called Paro, which is very wellness and spiritual India.
Of course.
And so sometimes I also wonder, how can this happen, right? The same woman can create three different design languages.
Basically, I think she dwells into herself for that creativity, and she's able to create distinctive brands, which is and very unique from
Yes.
each other. Paro is
Yes.
so different.
Yes.
Nicobar is obviously appealing to the younger age group very clearly.
Yeah.
But Paro has got this whole thing of a certain heritage value
Yes.
induced with the yogic elements.
So, and we were talking about this earlier, it really goes back to getting down to the soul.
Yes.
It really does. And that's what I think for us, when we travel, we pick up things from all over.
True.
Right? So literally what I'm wearing, for example, I remember telling Simran, I think these Kashmiri men are damn handsome.
Yeah.
And they wear these firans. But I said, I can't wear the firan in Delhi. So they take that and then they interpret this, and this is what I'm wearing.
Yes.
It was just an interpretation, right? In Kashmir, when we went, Simran's favorite thing was to go on a shikara where there's lotuses and lilies on
course.
Nagin Lake. We stay at a place called Dar es Salaam.
Yeah.
And she got so inspired by the lotuses and lilies on Nagin Lake that one of our best sellers is actually the lotus and leaf thali with the bowls.
I have it at home. It's fabulous.
And so to me, what I love is getting inspired by something historical and then interpreting it with modern eyes.
Yeah.
And really, I've always felt like history used to be all about the East, then it became all about the West. But to me now, it's all about how the East and West come together. And so that's where I get excited about what Nicobar is doing.
Right. I think the right fusion and the right packaging both matter. Today, when I look at Nicobar and I see the giftability of some of your products,
Thank you.
is phenomenal.
So I think to your question of where's our design inspiration and why we are always able to come up with something new is because this country is a treasure trove
True.
of stories and design and culture.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. And I think, as you rightly said, travel really exposes one's mind,
Yeah.
and the inspirations come from there. I would like to understand the journey that you had from, say, clothing and apparel, which you started with, and
Yeah.
then you moved into a bit of cafe, and then now in home. And it's really distinctive in terms of what you do for home in terms of, aesthetics.
Yeah, the only thing, Pushpa, I'd like to just correct a little bit, because one thing we were very clear is Nicobar is a lifestyle brand.
Yeah.
We're not here to sell a certain product. We're here to embody a certain culture and way of living.
Right.
And so right from the beginning, and Vandana, who heads our content editor, who's been fabulous right from the beginning, she came up with this line at Nicobar, we're creating a modern Indian way of living,
Right.
dressing, and then I got excited about the last part, and looking at the world. So living, dressing, and looking at the world. So actually when we launched from day one, we always had clothing, we always had home. And we were always online and we were always offline. So the day we opened, we had a store online and offline.
Yeah, I was coming to that.
Yeah,
You're
so
one
we've
of those
always been
digital first.
digital first, but we strongly believe in offline, as
Right.
you know. And so clothing, home as a part of lifestyle has always been there. What is very interesting is during COVID, our home engine thrived more than our clothing engine.
Of course.
And our online engine thrived more than our offline engine. And now it's the reverse. Suddenly the offline engine is really thriving,
Of course.
as is clothing. So we've had a nice,
Good blend.
Good blend.
So when you're looking at online and offline,
Yes.
of course, you have looked at the brand Nicobar digitally, and I'm sure online, as you rightly said, during COVID did really well. What in the offline space works for Nicobar? And, how do you see offline, let's say, stores and malls work for you differently vis-a-vis the online space?
I just think the more premium you are as a brand, the greater the importance of the full experience
Yeah.
of offline. The product really comes alive in a way that technology is still not able to do it online. In fact, I'd go the other extreme, and I just keep likening it to, because we're all bowled over with online, right? I keep likening it. Can you imagine a world that was online only, and then you had your first offline store? I mean, can you imagine how gaga the world would
Yeah.
go over? Oh my
Yeah.
God, you can actually touch this. You can actually feel it. You can feel the fabric. So, and that's what it is. It is that importance of that offline
Yeah.
is just the full experience. The second most important is, if you use your offline well, it's a great source of consumer insight and feedback.
Absolutely.
I don't think India does it well.
Yeah.
I think we do it terribly. I think Nicobar does it terribly. I think we have a long way to go.
Well, we've talked a lot about the brand.
Yes.
So, can we go a little bit beyond the brand into your personal space of how, if you can think about any books or any learnings that inspired you?
I think my personal space is less interesting than the brand, but let's try. Pushpa, right now I'm reading the autobiography of a yogi.
Oh,
I'm reading Trust by Hernan Diaz for my book club. I'm reading the Short Game Bible by Dave Pelz for my golf. And I'm reading a book on coaching called Helping. So
Wow.
I read like crazy.
so it's like parallel reading? You're
Yeah.
able to do that?
Yes, Kindle.
I can only do one at a time. Oh, that's
No,
nice.
Kindle.
Okay.
So I think required reading for anybody who manages money, and it's not so much a financial book, but it's a beautiful book called The Psychology of Money. I mean, a book that really went deep is Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. And there's this great quote, between stimulus and response, there's a space.
Yes.
And how we elongate that space and it just left it's a Holocaust survivor
Yes.
story. So those are in the philosophical realm.
I think, from the kind of books that you read, it shows me 2-3 things. The philosophy of life interests you a lot.
Yeah.
And you're seeing varying stages, and I completely echo that, because
Yeah.
for me too, and I have read Clayton's book, How
Yeah.
to Measure Your Life, and
Yeah.
it really makes you think. We all measure it through material elements,
Sure.
but at the end of it, there are so many other deeper elements like relationships that matter far more. So, Raul, you are passionate about so many things, but
Yeah.
what is it that you're most passionate about? I see you, having a varied personality. You're not sort of only about your business. You also delve into so many other spheres. But what is it that you're most passionate about?
Look, I think, as I said, these things change over time. When I go back to my 20s, I was really passionate about wearing great clothes. I was really passionate about going to great restaurants. I was very passionate about girls wanting to like me. Today, I would say sports, entrepreneurship, and mindfulness. I mean, these are the 3 vectors. Maybe I've not thought about it this way, but it's really people and relationships at the end of the day, but under the rubric of sports,
True.
entrepreneurship, and mindfulness.
Nice. That's a very holistic group, I must say. All 3 are so cool. Coming back to brands,
Yeah.
you, as Nicobar, you must have been inspired by brands. So which are the 1 or 2 brands that has really sort of got your quirk and really inspired you?
Just again, my mental model is that it's really easy to be small and personal as a brand, and it's very easy to be large and impersonal. But to be, large and with magic is virtually impossible, but to be medium-sized with magic is possible, right? So I would say at one level, it's obvious, but what Apple has done,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just in a different league.
Absolutely.
You hold that phone, anyway, it's beautiful. But that's such an obvious answer. That said, The one that no one talks about is the DLF Golf and Country Club. And I'll give you 4 reasons I think it's the most amazing brand. So the first is they took and redefined what golf is. I think that's what brands do.
Yeah.
They redefine what is the traditional experience. And DLF definitely just notched it up.
True.
Right? So that's one. 2 is brands continuously reinvent. DLF was an amazing course, and yet the owners, founders decided to redesign it.
True.
While it's at its peak, it's already amazing, and then you decide to redesign it. And that's what I think brands do.
Yeah.
Is before the customer tells them to reinvent, they reinvent.
Yes.
Third, great brands are not about product, but they take it to a service and even a philosophy level.
Yeah.
And so the founder's personality comes across at DLF, where you can see it's all about attention to detail. It's all about great service. It's all about a great experience. And fourth, most importantly, I read this and we thought a lot about it at Nicobar. Steve Jobs' dad told him, when you design a cabinet, it's not the front of the cabinet that matters. It's the part at the back that's against the wall. How you design that is what defines a great brand.
Yeah.
And what this DLF does, of course, the greens, the fairways, the tees are amazing.
Yeah.
But they look after the rough area. They look after the trees, the bathrooms, the changing rooms, more than most golf courses look after their trees.
True.
And so that's why I just feel like, if you want to see what a great brand is, go see their warehouse. Go see the back room. That's where you will know, not in the front.
That's true. That's so, so true. As I say, you walk into a home, go to the kitchen and see how it is.
That's right. Exactly.
It's the same thing.
Yes, absolutely.
So, the brand Nicobar has a very unique name. How did you get the name Nicobar come to you?
Gosh, it's what I'm most
proud of. It's almost like
of.
a Blue Lagoon story.
Yeah, it's what I'm most proud of on how we came up with that name. But basically what happened is we had a code name for the project and it was called Frangipani.
Okay.
Then we came up with a new name and we did over 2.5 months, we did the whole identity around this new name. But for some reason, that new name was not fully connecting with me. It was connecting with a few people on the team. So we were very keen on journeys across the Indian Ocean.
Right.
So I said, okay, let's come up with a name that is tied to the Indian Ocean. You won't believe it, Pushpa, but we came up with, I'm looking at that list, 93 names.
Wow.
Indian Ocean, Zanzibar, Serendip is how you call Sri Lanka. So there were 93 names, including Andaman.
Right.
Nicobar was not on the list. Andaman was on that list of 93. We said, let's give ourselves 3 weeks if we can come up with a new name. And during those 3 weeks, luckily I ended up on a trip to Thailand, where 4 golfers from Bombay, 4 from Delhi flew to Bangkok. We met there and then we took a flight to Phuket. And on that 1-hour flight, I met one of my friends from Bombay and he asked me, what am I up to? So I said, I'm going to create a lifestyle brand. He said, what the heck? What is that? So I said, a brand that's going to do clothing, home. He said, that's a crappy idea. The world doesn't need any more clothing, doesn't need any more home. So then he said, what's the name of this brand? I told him what the name is. And he said, oh, crappy idea with a crappy name. So then I got very excited. So I took out our mood board, I took out our inspiration, and I started talking about our philosophy, which was around inspiring India to modernize without necessarily westernizing.
Yes.
And really creating something rooted in India yet global. Suddenly he became very excited. This is all happening on a 1-hour flight. And just when we were landing and we saw the blue waters, he says, how about Nicobar?
Oh, wow.
And it's one of those things, Pushpa, as soon as you heard it, there was no question.
Yeah.
There was absolutely no question, right? So then I call up Simran immediately. As always, she doesn't answer my call. So then I just message her and I say, how about Nicobar? She told me she went into raptures for the next 5 days because it was so perfect for us.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I'm allowed to take as many golf trips as I want. But the reason I'm so proud of that story is because I don't think there's any other brand that has gone through 3 months of defining the identity
Yeah.
coming out beautiful,
Yeah.
and having the courage to say, no, we're not fully happy with it, we'll do it again. And I keep
Absolutely.
using that story at Nicobar because there's not a single product we've released that we're not happy with. We might make mistakes. Sometimes something happens to the fabric, etc. But we have this thing that if we're not happy, if we're not going to use it ourselves,
Yeah.
it should not go out.
But that's the passion that comes through in the brand. I thought we should have a fun segment where we really get to know a little bit more of your personality.
Sure.
It's called Would You Rather.
Okay.
And kids play it all the time.
Yeah.
So let's play. Have a golden voice or a silver tongue?
You know, when you say that golden voice,
Yeah.
because it reminds me of my dad who keeps putting on these British accents and keeps talking about how he's been telling me I must talk with a deeper voice.
So it's the golden voice. Be chronically underdressed or overdressed?
Without a question, underdressed. No question. Because I've gone from being overdressed and
In your 20s.
Yeah, I can't wear a tie anymore.
Oh, wow. Style Roger Federer or, of course, Messi?
Oh my God. At the risk of alienating my kids, Federer.
Would you rather give up your collection of shoes, which I know you have a huge collection, or your golf set?
Shoes easily.
Okay.
You're
a golfer.
Yeah. And it's the one thing, even when I don't need new clubs, I keep buying new clubs. All my friends make fun of me.
Would you rather that you'll be able to read people's minds or predict the future?
Easily read
Read
people's
people's
minds.
minds.
No question again.
Exactly.
This would you rather is turning out to be, some of them are very easy. I love understanding what makes people tick.
Exactly. On that note, Raul, it's been an absolute pleasure interacting with you and learning more about you and the brand. Wish you all the very best. And I know that Nicobar is going to go miles.
Thank you. I really enjoyed the conversation. You are a great moderator. I wish we had
thank
more of
you.
these conversations, even off camera.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Lovely meeting you.
Lovely, Pushpa. Thank you.
Huge.